there is a plague taking over YouTube, sweeping across like a disease that no one can stop, where content creators are forced to struggle and just watch as their content gets ripped away from their arms and stolen in broad daylight with everyone watching in plain sight. And it cannot be stopped. Oh, wait, that's me. I'm part of the problem. But here's the thing. This has been a huge debate, and I think people have been talking about it a lot recently because it does matter. And I think that there's two ways to look at this debate and two sides. And I want to bring a little bit of nuance into the conversation and say maybe there's a right way to go about this and a wrong way to go about this. The first point I kind of want to attack is this whole notion or idea that somehow anyone who reacts or responds to content is stealing views. They're stealing my content! You know how hard it took me to come up with this shit?
How hard it took you? How hard it took you?
You know what? Don't fucking come at me with English right now. I think there's some merit to this claim, but I don't think it's 100% honest and genuine, because if you really look at it, there are people out here on YouTube that just want to see how people add to a conversation or react to certain content. There are people that enjoy watching the responses and reactions to content, and that is what content they want to take in.
I like Asmongold's reaction videos. I would rather personally watch something that I would never watch because Asmongold gets let out to pasture and decides to come over and eat an apple while fucking watching something with me, some shit about Diablo, which...
Not all of these people are gonna watch some of these original posts or watch the original video because that is not in their niche or it's not necessarily in their category. This means that they're not necessarily stealing the views. Now, in some of the cases, there's going to be someone who watches a video from, let's say, Asmongold, who watches it for Asmongold's response and reaction and his balanced take on what's happening in the video. Not all of those viewers are going to watch someone like CoffeeZilla or the other creators that he responds to. And that's the point, is that there's not always a straight theft of views. Sometimes people are just going to watch the creators that they want to watch because they're looking for that type of content. Now, there is some nuance in that argument in the fact that there may be a couple of people that just watched the one reaction video and not the original creator video who would have been interested in the original creator's video. And I'd like to think, because it's what I do, I will watch an Asmongold respond and the CoffeeZilla original because I like both takes. I like it unedited so that I can see what the original video has to say. And then I enjoy the responses that get put into it to add depth to the conversation that's taking place. I know that that might be more of an anomaly than the rule. That may not be standard, but it's just something that does happen as well. But the key point in all of that discussion is going to be the fact that I think there's two very different categories that fall under the react category. I think there are people that react to content and it's just a reaction. The upfront, oh my God, did that just happen?
Live Bogu.
Oh my God.
Let's be honest, that's not adding a whole lot of depth and value. And there's responses. And I always try to fall on the side of response. I want to add more depth to the conversation that's taking place. I either want to add counterpoints or I want to add reasons as to why I agree or disagree with the original creator to move a conversation forward and to build a broader conversation about the topic. And I think when you're talking about commentary and going into details about new games coming out and things like that, getting multiple perspectives is a value added to the conversation, because that's what a lot of these commentary and news things are. It's a distribution of information in a commentary format in which you can add value by giving responses. And I think that's a fair way to look at it, because it's about the value add to the conversation or the original content. One problem with it is that value added is a completely subjective term. Value added is completely reliant on the viewer and individual taking in the content. And I know it may hurt some people to look at it or hear this, but the value of your content is not what you put into it and what your message is, but it's how the viewer receives that content and what they get out of that content. And unfortunately, that's just the way that everything on YouTube and Twitch and all of these platforms work. The value is what the audience perceives the value as. So that inherently means that that user gets to decide how much time they give you for the effort that you put into the content. And that is the transaction that takes place. It's all about the viewer appreciating the value you're adding to whatever you're putting out and giving you the time to watch the content. Now, to break it down, I think there's 3 key points that I tend to look at when I'm going to respond to a video and what carries it from that reaction content into the world of response content, which I think most people agree that response videos have value and merit on the platform, whereas the reactions by themselves may not. And it's a gray area, and everyone has to decide where that line is for themselves. But the first key point I look at is, are you starting a conversation or carrying on a conversation? Are you adding depth? Are you changing the direction of the video? What are you doing that makes the video actually different from the original post?
Would promote something nearly identical. Oh, wait. He said, sounds dope.
Damn,
and
bro.
then ETH, question mark? And at this point, I'm just a little surprised by how easy this all is.
Of course.
Zero due diligence is being done here. We have created the weakest facade possible for an NFT scam.
They're like literally telling him this is a scam. And he's like, no, it's not. Like, no, we're literally scamming you. No, you're not. I'm not being scammed right now. What do you mean? No, I'm not. There's no way I could be getting scammed. Absolutely not.
You add more details that the original creator may have missed. Do you change the direction of the conversation to the point where you're pointing out flaws in the original creator's logic? Do you add the counterbalance of argumentative points almost in a debate style? What are you adding to the content that makes it different from the original post? And I think that's the biggest one. You need to be responding in a way that changes the original video and adds value to that viewer. The next one is, I don't rip all of the metadata off. I'm not trying to compete with the original poster. Now, it's hard to say that completely because I do understand the fact that there are going to be tags that overlap, because obviously if the original video is about Starfield, I'm going to use the Starfield tag. But I don't go into the original post and copy and paste all of their tags to make sure that my video places exactly where their video places. I still have my own tags that are for my channel and my type of content. I make sure that I change the title. I alter the thumbnail in a way that hopefully makes it obvious that it is a video from me responding to the original. Sometimes I use a completely different thumbnail. Sometimes I add my logo with different wording on top of the thumbnail to say this is what I am getting at out of this video. I don't just copy and paste everything from the original poster. It's a small thing, but it makes a big difference, right? Because I'm not trying to steal their views. I'm trying to get views that might want to see how I respond to the original creator. And the last one is give credit where credit is due. I shout out the video. I say I'm watching someone else. In my description, I will always at the original creator, as well as give a link to the video itself and tell people to go make sure they drop a like on that video, because that's important too, because I want that creator to know that the people that may have watched my stuff also should go like their stuff, because that's what started the conversation, and that is the root of this entire thing existing. Moving forward, a creator may not like what you're doing with their content. And honestly, I've come to terms with the fact that if a creator approached me and said, I don't like that video and I wish you would take it down, I just take it down. It's a reasonable ask. I don't think that's too much to ask for if a creator doesn't think you actually added value, and you can make the argument to them saying, no, this is a response. I'm trying to start a conversation with you. And if at the end of the day, they don't like that answer, take it down. Doesn't hurt anyone if you just take it down, retract it, and say, all right, that doesn't work. He doesn't want me to do any more stuff from him, and I will walk away and I'll find something else that fits what my topics of conversation are and the content that I want to add to the conversation on. But I think YouTube could also do some things here. Now, this always leaves it up for abuse, and I don't think any solution would be 100% perfect no matter what happens. But I think YouTube could add an option for small creators. Once they see that their video is being used by someone else to a certain degree, YouTube should make it so that that creator can mark it for review. And at the end of that review, YouTube could either offer a 50-50 split or a proper response video where they're adding commentary, which is under fair use and doesn't necessarily need to be made, but I think it's a reasonable ask, since you're adding conversation, they did put in work, and maybe they should get a split. So after a review, if it's legitimate response content where you add value to it, YouTube can offer that creator a split of the monetization of that video. Or if YouTube doesn't see the value add and they don't think that the creator did enough to transform the content, they could take it down for the creator and make it go away. Now, that might hurt, and again, this is very subjective, and it falls on the people at YouTube who would review this to actually do a good job watching and paying attention to what is or isn't added. But if that system existed and there was a appeal for both the original creator and the person who responded, that gives you options to say, hey, I think I deserve a part of this because this is largely my video, and YouTube could weigh in and say, while it falls under fair use, you did use the entire video, and I'm sorry, but maybe you should give a portion back to the creator. And I'm not saying it has to be 50-50. It could be 70-30, whatever seems fair to the higher ups at YouTube. I think that if it does fall under fair use, it should be a split that the responder gets a good chunk of, because then the whole thing should be covered under fair use. But that's up for YouTube to decide. I don't care. Honestly, I would love to keep any and all money I make off of that content, but I would be completely understanding if at some point they wanted to offer kickbacks to the original creators, because I did use that original video to kickstart my conversation where I added to the discussion. At the end of the day, I don't think everyone's going to be happy at all. There's no perfect world scenario where everyone's happy, because you have the hardliners on both sides of the argument, the people who support XQC adding 40 seconds to an 18-minute long video where he doesn't actually say a whole lot, but somehow gets a massive amount of views, and they will always support the Sniper Wolves and XQCs because they watch that content and they take in that content. And those diehards are, I think, in the wrong in this argument, because again, I do think there's a right way to do this and a wrong way to do this. And if you're not actually moving a conversation forward or adding something of substance to the video, you're missing the point. But there's also people on the other side that say no matter what, you cannot use any portion of the video to further your conversation because it's all theft And I don't think that's right under the fair use, because at the end of the day, there is the portion where it is transformative in nature. And if I change the discussion or move it in a different direction, I've transformed the purpose of the video. The middle ground is where I'm trying to come at this from. And I think we can all agree that a majority of people on YouTube probably don't actually care about this debate or this conversation. They just like to sip the tea, looking at the drama, taking it all in, because that's what it's all about, right? It's fun, it's entertaining. Oh, look at these guys fighting about something that doesn't actually affect me. Ultimately, I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and it's a gray area that falls in the middle, and it's hard to decide where that line actually falls because of points like value added is subjective. But I think both the hardliners are wrong, and we have to come to a middle ground and nuanced decision. And as a community, maybe YouTubers start calling it out and split the React content category in half and say, look, there are two categories under React. It is reactions and responses. And if you're just reacting, maybe you're not adding a lot of value and you're pretty close to towing the line with copyright infringement. But if you're doing response videos, you're actually moving conversations forward and you're doing something that is worth watching, or at least at a minimum worth recognizing that it is unique and standalone content to some degree.
And subscribe, do this stuff. You want all that? All of that. Hey there, it's Skeg Froggy. Thanks for watching the video. And if you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and follow me here on Twitch for more awesome content. Link is in the description.